Hi and welcome to English with Stuart. Today we're going to have another look at some new phrasal verbs. Of course, phrasal verbs are by far not the easiest thing in English to learn. So today we're going to have a look at how to use some more phrasal verbs. And the phrasal verbs today will be cut across or cut through because they're synonymous. Cut back, cut down on, cut in, cut off and cut out. Now, if you like this video and you want more help with more phrasal verbs, please look in the chat below because I have posted the links to my other phrasal verb videos so you can practice your phrasal verbs and get some good examples with some sentences so you can see exactly how to use the phrasal verb. So let's start with the first one, cut across or cut through, because they mean the same thing. So that means to shorten your journey or your route. For example, you could say something like, I usually cut across the park on my way to work. Or I usually cut through the park on my way to work. Now, as a British native, I personally favour to cut through. And I think Americans usually say cut across. But they both work in both countries, so you can use both. Okay, next one, cut back is to reduce or decrease something. So they decided to cut back manufacturing. So they reduced the amount of products that they made. The verb, of course, to manufacture. To cut down. A number of trees were cut down in the forest to make space for a new building. That's a good example of cut down. But what about cut down on? Now, cut down on can also be used with cut back on. In this case, they are both synonymous. It's to reduce the quantity of something, the consumption usually. So for example, if I don't cut back if I don't cut back on or cut down on chocolate, I will get fat. If I don't cut down on beer, I'm not going to be healthy, for example. To cut in, what is to cut in? Well, cut in is to interrupt. It's to interrupt. During his presentation, they cut in. The journalists cut in during his presentation. Cut off. Now, cut off is very common, and cut off is to discontinue or to isolate. So, for example, he cut our conversation off when we were speaking on the phone before we had finished the conversation. So he disconnected the conversation, the call, the telephone call. Our group was cut off because of heavy snow. So we were in the mountains and it snowed and we were cut off. We were isolated or, again, really disconnected from the rest of the world. Okay, to cut out. Now, to cut out has a couple of meanings. One of them is to remove something with scissors. So, for example, you could cut something from a piece of paper and then remove it, and you have yourself a cutout, because you can use it as a noun. Of course, it's a verb as well. For example, she cut out a picture of her favourite pop star from the magazine. You could also have it to mean to stop doing something as well. I'm going to cut out eating chocolate. Now, that doesn't mean to reduce consumption, like I am going to cut back on eating chocolate. This means completely stop. I'm going to completely cut out sugar from my diet, for example. In fact, this reminds me of when I was very young. Can't have been much more than, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And where I lived at the time in England, my neighbour used to shout at his dog. Whenever his dog barked, he used to shout, cut it out, stop, completely stop. That's what it means. So I hope this small group of phrasal verbs will help you, and look for the more videos that I have about phrasal verbs. Again, as I said before, I've posted them in the chat below, the links to these videos, so you can receive 4, 5, 6 phrasal verbs per video. And please click like, subscribe, and share so that I can continue making videos to help you improve your English. And I'll see you in the next class of English with Stuart.